All right, thank you all for joining. I think more people will start filtering through, but we'll get started. So thank you everyone for joining this webinar today. I think there's been a lot of interest around charging as a service, and we're excited to kind of represent and talk about why we've brought it to market and what's involved with CaaS. Today, you've got myself, so Austin Devaney. I'm the head of sales for EVSE. Have worked in the EV industry for about 3.5 years, but certainly not as long as Sam over here.
Yeah, I've been around maybe too long. I'm a dinosaur for EV charging. Sam Cookies, I co-founded the business in 2015. And yeah, really excited about charging as a service, as a platform, and really as an option for people looking to get into EV charging. Obviously, EV charging in the early days was the early innovators and hobbyists, and it's now more mainstream. It's now moving into fleet and business critical operations, and it's just another option to offer our to people who are looking to transition to electric vehicle charging and help lower some of those early deployment costs or big capex, especially around commercial and home infrastructure.
Fantastic. And just a few things. If you do have questions, guys, just pop them in the Q&A chat or the Teams chat. We'll answer them at the end of the webinar presentation. And also, this webinar is recorded. So you will all get sent a recording maybe a day or 2 days after this prezo. So you'll have it on file and you can refer back to that. Fantastic. We'll get started. All right. So look, I think the first couple of slides is just we wanted to talk about our mission and about EVSE. I mean, our mission in Australia and New Zealand is to decarbonize the way we move and accelerate the uptake of electric vehicles. We've deployed over the last 10 years charging solutions for nearly 1,000 businesses across Australia and New Zealand. And that's in really every state and territory as well as every industry segment. And with that, around about 10,000 charging stations that we continue to support and maintain and service. So we've got a lot of experience and we're really excited to be presenting a totally new model that we can now offer to people looking to transition. Fantastic. And why choose EVSE? I mean, we are an end-to-end solutions provider. What that means is we do everything from the consultation phase to the supply and installation of hardware and software and ongoing support. And that's what we've been focused on providing for the last 10 years. I think what's really exciting is now we get to come to market and be able to provide different kind of business models for organizations to look at and begin to understand whether they want to, purchase it outright or use it like a more bundled charging option where it's a cost over a monthly or multi-year term.
Yeah, and obviously then you don't have to kind of go through a finance process or have to go to even another party to get kind of credit. So yeah, it's allowing to kind of smooth out that transition, try and get some of the savings of petrol. Because we know that electricity is cheaper than petrol. So how can we utilize that saving into your infrastructure costs? Because for most businesses, you've never had to think about the infrastructure when we're deploying vehicles, right? There's petrol stations, but we know with EV charging, it's a little bit more decentralized. You've got charging at home, charging at work, and then charging at go. And it's not 100% in any location. We almost think it's almost 50-50. So CaaS is really a way to kind of bridge some of that gap and make it easier to transition.
Fantastic. So a bit of an agenda, guys. Today we're going to be running through like why you should, consider or choose charging as a service. How does it work? And the different settings that we will actually utilize CaaS in, which is home, depot, and public. And then what's involved in our EVSE package. So what you get for the charging as a service model, because we want to be really clear here. We want to give you an understanding around what exactly is involved so you can go back and make an informed decision.
So yeah, why choose charging as a service? I think for me, it's about simplifying your operations and your costs. One thing that is really hard for a lot of businesses is kind of, you've got a balance sheet, you've got daily costs and operational costs, and then all of a sudden you get this bill that you're not expecting. Right now, EVs are still a little bit more expensive than a petrol car. And so you want to use those total cost of ownership savings long term and spread those costs out rather than having to pay so much up front. And that's been a real thing and a requirement. We also know that people are very focused on reliability of the hardware. You know, you don't want a situation where it's been 2 years, the warranty's up, and then things start breaking. And we've all had that situation at home. We've all, you know, you've just kind of ended the warranty period and you look at the sticker and it's like, oh no, I'm gonna have to buy it again. So charging as a service is all about smoothing out those costs. 99% charger uptime guarantee and readiness.
Yep.
And when you're running a business critical fleet, cars can't be stationary for 5 minutes. They really need to be operational. And you want that ability to know that every time you call, 7 days a week, somebody's on the line and that there's a solution at hand quickly.
Yeah, and it's our core business providing and maintaining EV charging solutions. So what we also want to kind of give the option to is so you can focus on really your core business, and then we can come in and be able to provide that charging solution and maintenance and service level agreements and uptime that you really need to make sure that your operations as standard, whether it's delivering people, goods, or services, is maintained. The other benefit with CaaS is that it can help alleviate the barriers to adoption on more of a kind of a risk mitigation front. Like it allows you to de-risk your business from like technology gallop. Let's say the term is 3, 4, 5 years, and in that time, maybe technology has advanced. This gives you the opportunity to go, oh, when the term finishes, we'd like to kind of replace the charging infrastructure. So it gives you a lot more flexibility with what you can work with.
Yeah, and we'll detail a little bit later, but the idea with our CaaS model is you can break out at any time you like, and at the end of the terms, there's a zero cost breakout fee. And then what we kind of try and do is after the initial period, much like a mobile phone where you have like your data and your phone plan, we have a similar pack where after the term ends, you move into a lower cost kind of operational kind of package that we offer.
Yeah, and the great thing is the warranty is for as long as the term is. So if your term is 5 years, that's 5 year warranty. That's 5 years of maintenance. It's 5 years of the highest service levels that we provide.
And if you continue with us, and then it just ever lasts and continues on as you kind of continue with us.
Fantastic. And so I think what the deployment of CaaS looks like, the start of it is very similar to what we normally do. So obviously we'll go to your sites and we'll understand how you operate your vehicles. We'll understand if they're taken home or they're taken back to depot overnight, whether they're light or heavy vehicles, and you need the right or adequate charging infrastructure to charge those. We'll then work with the project management team and our electrical teams to deploy charging solutions based off how much power you have available at site. Understand where your switchboard is, understand where you want to put the charging infrastructure, and then we'll create an engineering design and proposal. Once that's accepted, we move through to the deployment stage where we deploy all of the infrastructure, where you have the hardware, but also importantly, you have a smart software platform that allows you to maintain, monitor, and manage your charging sessions and gives us the ability to provide that really high support level because that software will indicate when something goes offline or if there's a query you have, we're able to see it online on the cloud.
Yeah. There is a question around just getting to the specifics. We will just need to keep it a little bit top level for people who don't necessarily understand CaaS. But in 5 minutes' time, you will get some specifics and some costings. We guarantee it.
Fantastic. And then lastly is the maintenance aspect. So with CaaS, it helps us really provide that ongoing maintenance and support of your infrastructure as well.
Yeah, you want to get rid of this kind of responsibility gap. You know, sometimes you procure hardware from one person, you procure software from another, and installation from another, and it goes wrong when no one knows who's responsible, especially year 3, year 4. That's when the problems really pile up. Yep. And you don't want a situation where you just get stuck as stranded assets and you're then replacing what you've already paid a lot of money for. You need 4 or 5 years of infrastructure deployment to get the benefits, that total cost of ownership. I do not subscribe to the idea that EVs are cheaper from day one. Right now, they're not necessarily. It's cheaper after 4 or 5 years of strong, healthy operation. It's not just cheaper because we want to kind of put an Excel spreadsheet and say it's cheaper. It doesn't work that way.
Yep.
People who buy EVs need to see it. Yeah. And unfortunately, for a long time, it hasn't happened. And it's really only now where we're getting kind of that benefits and that long-term nature of it all.
Especially a lot of new EV models coming to market.
Yeah.
Great.
So we'll keep this simple because it's basically what we're doing. It's lower upfront cost, predictable monthly payments. So I mean, if you've got a CFO or someone, he likes the idea of you just put it on your balance sheet every single month and it's a fixed cost. You're not paying for any maintenance. You're not paying for breakdowns or faults or anything. It's all wrapped up in the one package. It's scalable, right? Any charge you put in today, you can put one or you can put 100 or you can start and grow it out as you need. And you can just add charges on and add billing into your package. Again, it's a telephone kind of package. It's a fixed monthly cost. And then you have the option of AC charges, DC charges, software, service and maintenance, and we can just wrap it up in the way that you really need. It's all about complementing what you want. And probably my favorite slide, from homes to highways, CaaS is available across everywhere where you want to charge. And that's a unique part of what EVSE is offering. It's not just for employee homes. You can have commercial premises, workplaces, or CaaS. And then also, what's unique to us is we'll also CaaS public charging. And I think this, for me, is something that we're really proud of, because for a long time, and everyone's probably experienced this, you've got units that after 2 years are just totally broken. And PlugShare is full of one-star rated EV chargers. With CaaS, we can back to back the revenue, and we'll go through it a little bit deeper, that you're generating in real time to pay off the hardware and then generate free cash flow as well. So this for public charging is a real potential game changer,
Yeah.
and something to give you more confidence.
It basically gives you certainty that we will maintain the uptime levels that we guarantee with you at the beginning of the contract.
Yeah.
Which is super important for public charging, especially with the previous years.
Yeah.
All right. Beauty.
There is a quick question about data ownership and access between capital acquisition versus CaaS. No. Our belief is that the data is owned by our customers, and so CaaS does not preclude you from owning and operating the data in the method that you like.
Yep.
Yeah. Is it, there's been another question. Is it a fixed cost or fixed plus variable cost depending on the volume of charging made in the month? No, it's a fixed cost. No, so we're not going to get super technical with the model. People want simple. It's a fixed monthly cost based on the hardware. You will be told beforehand of all the costs.
Yep.
And you will make a decision based on the proposals we put together. And you will have the option of either purchasing the products outright or CaaSing the model. And that is totally up to you. And you can make that decision anywhere down the chain.
Yeah, and so this slide really talks to how we go about the fleet home charging aspect for CaaS. So what we see as it applying for is fleet drivers and organizations that take their vehicles home to charge. This is perfect for that, because right now in the market, the previous experience has been, okay, we need to upfront pay for hardware, upfront pay for software, and somehow track that energy. And then also, what do we do if someone leaves the business? So with CaaS, we do manage to handle all of those issues, all of those concerns. What's included in it is we manage the end-to-end for the home. We'll do a site assessment, and basically we get an idea of the total cost for the supply of the hardware, software, and installation. And then we break that down into a monthly ongoing cost for you, which is
it's under $70 per month with hardware and installation included.
Yep.
And then at the end of the term, the installation is completed and it drops down to an even lower price of around $40 a month at the end of the term.
Yeah.
What businesses have said to us is we want you to include installation into the startup pack, so your mobile phone and data. And then at the end of the term, we want just that kind of price for the ongoing hardware, warranty, service, and support. And that's exactly what we've done. And this is, for me, a really nice product of what we're doing here, is because the cost will go down over time, like you expect.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we've answered the question here. So one huge thing that everyone has a bit of a concern around is, what if the homeowner either leaves the house or if they leave the business? So with CaaS, what we can do is, because it's an ongoing cost for hardware and software, we can simply take that charger off the wall, take the backplate off, and we can remove it and add it into another home and get that CaaS model continuing with that other provider or other fleet driver.
Yeah. Otherwise, we can also offer a buyout. Yep. Balloon fee. So the employee can choose to balloon payment. We can then just leave the asset at the home and then cancel the CaaS contract and set up a new one at the new employee's home.
Yeah. So it's a bit of flexibility, and with that buyout fee, it's just related to a lot of it is the installation costs, because if they're breaking out of a term maybe halfway through, there's still a lot of the installation aspect that we've performed and we need to be reimbursed for.
Yeah.
So that's really the cost that they'll see if they try to break out earlier than the dedicated term. Okay, fantastic. We most likely will answer a bunch of these.
Ian's asked question $7.
Oh,
Could that include DC charging too? We have a list of prices across our entire range based on the hardware. So DC chargers will come at a higher price, unfortunately, than $70 a month. I would love that personally. That would.
Yep.
But we can, if anyone has a request for pricing, we can break it down at a hardware level or a hardware and an install level if we do site inspections.
Yeah.
One of the biggest issues is liability, the install. So EVSE, we have public liability insurance as well as liability on all the hardware. So you can alleviate that concern. I know there is a conversation also about home insurance and how that, and our understanding from our insurers is that our liability should cover all aspects that are required.
Yep.
But of course, that's something that you should also check with your insurance.
Yeah, and then the terms for home charging as well as commercial charging, they can be for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. It's dependent on you. We're flexible with that. And as such, the cost of the term increases or decreases every month based on, how long you're looking to have the charger for.
Correct.
So it varies. $70 is a solid average for around that 4 or 5 year mark. But to give you an idea, if we went to a commercial site that we'll show you next, you simply bundle the installation cost, you bundle the hardware and software cost, and then you can split that out over 5 years into monthly ongoing costs. And that's a very simple way of understanding how much it will be for you. Perfect. Now on to the commercial aspect. So obviously, if you've got fleets or workplaces that you're looking at getting charging infrastructure, you want to be able to understand, what does CaaS look like? So yeah, this is perfect for those fleet managers or organizations that are finding it hard to pay for the upfront costs. It allows us to focus on helping your core business thrive. It also preserves your capital upfront and extends it over a 5-year term. And then you can reinvest a lot of those savings from CaaS, instead of spending it on petrol or diesel for EVs, you can save that and reinvest it into that CaaS model. And so really, you might even be finding there's cost parity ongoing.
Yeah. And again, at the end of the terms, you will then be put on to a lower price point, and all of that will be mapped out at the start. You'll have a complete breakdown of how the costs will work for the first, say, for instance, 4 years, and how it works at the end. Because we get it, right? Like you sort of want to get a saving long term, and it's very similar to what we've tried to do. Yeah, I think we've talked about it.
Yep.
Like for me, you don't want chargers not working after 3 years and paying for it all again. This gets rid of that.
Yeah, we want it just to be simple, right? It doesn't need to be extremely complex. It should be a simple understanding around, okay, well, how do we apply this for home? How do we apply this for commercial? And then the last sector is public or highway.
Yeah, and I think everyone agrees the big issue in Australia is reliability, right? It's a very big country for the population. We're similar in size to the USA with 25 million people, the size of like a city like Shanghai or Tokyo. And so you've got a lot of assets deployed across the country, and so service and maintenance becomes very hard. It also becomes very hard when after 2 years you get a critical failure in a piece of hardware, and then all of a sudden you get a bill for $30,000+ or $50,000 to replace a DC charger. That has led to what I've called too many stranded assets in this country. They sit there, they have a bad experience, and then we get negative ratings in Australia, and that's leading people to go around buying hybrids, which aren't really the solution long term to kind of decarbonizing the environment. Electric vehicles, and this is where the confidence piece applies. You only pay if the charger is uptime and working. If it doesn't work, you stop paying the CaaS. Like, it's our problem. It transfers the risk from you to us. And then if you've got a good site that is generating profitable revenue, again, then you can use that profitability to pay off the CaaS, and then the rest can be used to invest in more sites, or reinvest councils or local governments, whoever wants to own the infrastructure. All service, all maintenance, all warranties, all repairs are covered. There is no out of pocket. The only out of pocket is vandalism. We cannot cover vandalism. So security and ways
Yep.
to alleviate that should also be considered.
Yeah, and that's where like security cameras and a lot of lighting and highlighted green bays really help with minimizing that risk.
Yeah. You also want to make sure that the chargers you're choosing are female friendly, elderly friendly. You want to have good lighting, not in a dark spot and location. So we'll help with site selection and also kind of getting you the process of making sure that it looks and feels like a public charging.
And I think the important thing is we can guarantee this support because we're vertically integrated in the hardware category. What that means is we have all the spare parts. We have spare parts in all of the offices across Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, and in Auckland. And then we're able to have engineers out to sites in case of hardware faults within 24 to 72 hours.
Yeah. Anyone on a CaaS setup will be on the gold SLA, which would mean that we will endeavour to get out to any site anywhere in Australia in 24 hours. Ayers Rock might be a hard one, but we will try.
All right, fantastic. And so, look, that's really the summary of the home, workplace, and public charging. And then this is what's included in the package. So we've just got 4 slides with the first one detailing the hardware that's included. What you can see is it's everything from AC charging, which gives you, 40 to 80 kilometers of range per hour, all the way up to DC rapid charging up to 420 kilowatts of DC.
Yeah.
Yep.
We will be looking to also wrap in some commercial battery storage into this offer in the near future as it expands and as we build it out.
Yep.
Yeah, so we want to be able to enable anyone to have a clean energy revolution of any size or scope.
And especially for home and public, we are working on V2G technology. It's in prototype phase, but that is going to be able to be released next year. And we really want to be able to bring technology that can help businesses recoup costs.
Fingers crossed, V2G has been a bane for a few years. And then, of course, one thing that is helps you manage your infrastructure is the software. What we've also been able to do is dissect all the EV charging fault codes into the Explorer platform. That then creates an automatic ticket generation system in our service and maintenance team. And so anyone who owns or operates an EV charger supplied by EVSE, we can know when your charger is offline before you know. The majority of issues are data related, especially 4G at the moment in Australia. Could be a lot better. But sometimes there are genuine faults, could be a module, could be a screen, could be a contactor issue. When that happens, we need to know straight away. And because this platform can understand the fault, when we're going out to it, it's a one-site fix. It's not multiple site inspections. It's not you paying for a site inspection, you paying for a diagnosis and then paying for a spare part. That is a bad situation. The system can do load control as standard. So the scalability means that you can just program like a distribution board into multiple chargers, and then it automates the load across as many chargers as you need to control and what's safe for a site.
And the platform for home charging and fleet charging is especially important for fleet managers. They can track the energy usage and then reimburse those homeowners with the electricity that they've consumed at their sites. You can allocate RFID tags to indicate the vehicle registration plate, so you can understand clearly who's charging and what vehicles are charging and how much you need to reimburse them. So on a fleet management perspective is also really important. And then on a public charging perspective, we give you control over what tariff you'd like to set. So obviously, Explorer will help with setting the tariff with you, but there's multi-tiers of tariff rating that you can have cents per kilowatt hour. You can do it on time-based, daytime, as well as a multiple of the 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have overstay fees if someone's going to sit in a 400 kilowatt DC charger for 2 hours. That is a bad day for the operator. So we also have to, and it's a understanding on plug share of what the competition is and the reason and what's reasonable. We've got a stack of questions. We're almost finished the presentation. Should we finish the presentation and start answering the questions?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. There's some fantastic questions coming through. We'll quickly finish this off. The rest is pretty much just capability. Look, we're nationwide, Australia, New Zealand, and everywhere in between, so we can deploy and manage infrastructure across this great country quite easily.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah, any regional, metro, remote, we have an installation network available that have installed our gear before and are reliable and can come out to your site inspect it, provide an accurate quotation, and then really move forward with project deployment.
Our residential CaaS prices are metro and regional. That's nice. There's no 50K kind of radius, and then you got to pay more. If there is any extra cost, we will again let you know up front before we're moving forward. Sometimes regional can be a little bit more expensive. It can, but 85% of our home installs are done at a fixed price at the CaaS price, which is a really nice thing we're proud of. I'd love to get it to 99%, but it's not always possible.
Yep.
And then again, this is the uptime guarantee. We've probably spoken to this to the death, so we won't go any more further. But at the 24/7 monitoring, and if we don't achieve this, guys, like it means that you can question our service level agreement and stop paying the ongoing fees because we're not hitting our metrics.
Yep. Fantastic.
So our commitment to CaaS, it's maybe a bit salesy, but we'll hit it anyway. It's one simple payment. It scales with you, and it's just left to the experts. But I really like these questions, so let's pump into some of these great questions.
Fantastic. Okay,
there's one question. One of the biggest issues for us government of providing home chargers is liability.
Yep.
I spoke about that we believe that our public liability insurance, which is $20 million, covers that. We also cover the hardware warranty in all its forms. So that should be covered. I know there's a few more insurancy questions around that, and I would encourage you to speak to your legal teams further. For commercial installations, do you take over energy bills? Often businesses have only 1 meter for everything, including charges. Network demand charges are often the issue. We do not take over the energy bills currently. We give you the freedom of choice of choosing any energy retailer of your choosing.
Yeah, I think with the software, you can also schedule charging to occur at different times of the day. So you can load manage it down so it's only operating at a low power rating, maybe in peak electricity cost times. And then outside of that, you can uprate the charger. So there's options available for you to be able to control that yourself. And we'll help you with that as well.
Yeah, the platform itself will allow you to manage peak demand. Yeah. Absolutely. And if peak demand is your concern, you can set a 24-hour window across the entire network of chargers across the entire country that you have under your management, and you'll be able to see that. And then what we do is set the chargers, instead of being maybe 100 kilowatts, can be 10 kilowatts in maybe 4 to 6 o'clock, and then they ramp up at 11 o'clock at night. A smart thing that a lot of people are doing is in utilizing off-peak tariffs. So the smart chargers, we can have it so every single charger turns on 11 o'clock at night and stops at 6 p.m.
Yep.
And that can maybe reduce by your total cost of ownership by $10,000 per over 10 years per car. Because you will save a stack of money. Massive in buses and trucks. Massive. Trucks and buses use a phenomenal amount of electricity. You could be paying 40 cents at 6 o'clock, or you could be paying 11 cents at 9 o'clock. There is a massive saving, and our team can do that all for you in the CaaS model.
Just quick, so for highway charges, who handles revenue generated? So look, it's through the Explorer platform that people can interact and pay using a QR code or with a credit card on the front of the charger. But you get to set the rate. We'll help you set that, but it comes to your bank account at the end of every month.
Yeah, so 97.5% of revenue generated goes back to you. 2.5% covers the credit card accounting and all the little fees and so on. With the Explorer subscription, you get 7 days a week live call center. So someone will be on the other line to answer the phone call and handle the customer.
Fantastic. Hi, Rob. So Rob, in a non-CaaS model, what length warranty is typically provided by suppliers for EV charging?
Most warranties are 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
They are that way because there's a lot of human interaction and usage of plugs and cables and inlets. So you'll find that the warranties are all around 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic.
You can purchase extended warranties from us if you own and operate, or other operators as well.
Alexander, corporates might be interested to know when their vehicles are charged for their emissions reporting. Do you have a capacity to set preference for? Yes. Yeah. So everything's absolutely tracked down to the individual charging session on the Explorer platform. You can set, when you'd like people to charge, or incentives to make them charge at certain times of the day. but everything from day or time of use, it's all tracked on the platform.
Yeah.
And then you can have a reporting dashboard that allows you to pull all the different metrics, such as energy usage, number of sessions over day, week, month, year, duration of sessions, and then you can report on that as well.
Yeah, we will send you a monthly report for your
Yep.
ESG, kind of carbon dioxide, petrol saved, energy delivered, charges installed, so that you can have a nice little snapshot. A lot of people have to do some reporting on it, and we can kind of summarize that also. It's just in your inbox. Don't necessarily need a click either.
It's that report is quite good because it actually shows you the equivalent of maybe CO2 abated based off how many kilowatt hours has been consumed by your vehicles.
Yeah.
All right, Hamish. So for commercial public charging, council consider installing DC fast chargers under rental agreements. Means DC fast chargers supply installed by a provider and paying annual rent for the land to council. Is it something you've allowed for? So that sounds like it's more of an own and operate model for the charge point operator. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, reach out to us. We've got partners that may want to do this, and
Yep.
it's all about unit economics around public EV charging and so forth. Normally, the CaaS model doesn't really allow for rentals. It's not really. It's more built for people who want to own the infrastructure,
Yep.
and then they can pay the rental. And there's also providers who could look to own and operate. I mean, if you want to send us an email and further think, we can discuss how public charging can work and solutions that we can provide.
Yep. And Barney, yes, thank you. We do work with you currently. And look, we've got the contract aspect down pat in terms of what CaaS involves, the terms and conditions. This presentation doesn't run through contract negotiations and what you need to look for. That's more of but business to business conversation we can have.
Yeah.
But we're open to it.
We've got draft contracts ready that have nice frameworks, heads of agreements at the top, and nice summaries. I mean, we've always been pretty flexible to bigger companies where, we have all the necessary kind of clauses in there.
Yep.
Have a quick legal review, and then that can be a blanket agreement that then can extend across. We've just completed an agreement with a major insurer. So, we kind of learn from what big corporates need over our last 10 years and
Correct.
kind of try and not, make it too hard to get an agreement signed.
Yeah, we're flexible. Rob, and yes, we can provide, monthly costs of different charges. If you're talking more about a public charging aspect, then we have data on AC and DC charging. But
yeah, we can provide fixed pricing for the home as well as like individual hardware. In the commercial setting, if you was also like us to be involved in the installation, we'll have to do a site inspection and then put it into the model. So it's really dependent. But if you want a hardware only price, absolutely available everywhere.
Yeah, and we can give you rough costs, like look, an average installation is this for a commercial site, and you're looking at this many charges, it's going to cost this much. Yeah, and that's pretty simple to be able to provide anyone who asks for that.
Do you deal with network upgrades? How much of this is passed on to? We can do the network upgrades for you. We can kind of make the applications, deal with Osgrid, Endeavour, Energex, all fun times sometimes.
Yeah, but Dean, I think what we try to do before having to upgrade is look at, can we implement load management to be able to add some charging infrastructure in there whilst you get your first few electric vehicles. The last thing we want to do is enter into a huge timeline, because some of these network operators can take quite a long time to get power to site. So we will look at your all of your sites available, look at the power available at those sites, and then can load management be able to scale?
Yeah, we can run a red light, orange, green light, orange light, red light system across sites to know which ones are red. The reds are obviously upgrades. The costs are passed on. If we make an application to a DNSP, that cost will be asked to be covered by the site owner, because that's a fair request from that perspective.
And we also do the report, and we get the understanding around how much energy is available and what we need to do from that standpoint.
If you allow how much freedom for businesses to set constraints around charging times, absolutely. You're the owner of the infrastructure. With the software, you can set all constraints. I have DC chargers that are publicly available in dealerships that are 9 to 5, and then they go behind the gate, and we lock them out. The 99% readiness guarantee is done through Explorin. So on Explorin, we can actually see the entire uptime of the entire network in every charger brand, every charging site. And then we can also export that to our management platform for our service and engineering team. So we'll be able to know if we're hitting 99% or not.
Yeah, and Alexander, the I guess the key difference there is because we're vertically integrated in the software and we're vertically integrated in the hardware. They are completely agnostic, and you can use separate platforms in Australia. But for us, we're able to guarantee this 99% uptime because it's all really in-house.
Yeah.
And that's where the efficiency and quick support comes from.
Yeah, if we bring in a charger where we do not have control over supply, spare parts, and warranties, the SLA, the uptime guarantee, will be based on that supplier's service level agreements. So we'll back to back, and that can be an issue. I've had kind of some run-ins with companies over this many times. So yeah.
Yep.
The 99% will be provided where we can actually control that, and that's the Ockler and Explorer platforms.
That's right. Zoran, yes, look, there's a lot of cool tech and features with the software platform. We'd be happy to be able to do a future run through or even an individual run through with you so you can ask exactly what you're looking for. But there's a lot of functionality on the platforms, especially Explorer, and that would be really interesting in a webinar.
Okay, some more questions here. If we have multiple site, there's from KANG. Does it mean council have to pay for the charger if it's in damage by vandalism? Unfortunately, yes. Vandalism is very hard to warranty against. The good news is it's not as pronounced and profound as people kind of imagine it, but it can happen. People can cut a cable off or they can damage a screen. We have a full set of parts and price lists. We could even look to add a warranty kind of phase or something to try and mitigate or de-risk that, but it is something you need to be mindful of. Insurance can cover that, but then you can have insurance premiums go up. So yeah, the biggest risk is if someone drives through your units. That's an insurance, definitely an insurance policy claim and against the car owner's insurance.
Yeah, so if that question is for public charging, for AC charging, we recommend metallic units with no cables attached. It just means there can be less damage to less parts with the unit. For DC, all of the cables come permanently attached to the chargers, and they can be thick cables with a lot of copper inside. So that's where you need to put, security cameras, especially if they're really fast units.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a well-lit area in a big public area that's well managed, yes, you'll be fine. If you're going to put it in a very remote spot where no one is monitoring and no one's seeing it, you need to mitigate risks there, and you need some camera systems. We can set that up as well. Depending, of course, some companies have their own security requirements. We can work with those.
Yep. Chris Thompson, if we have multiple sites, can you assist us with inspecting those sites to get an idea? Can we also look at adding a solar PV? Look, yes, for previous customers, they've initially given us 20, 30 sites, some of them, and then we've gone out and done that green light, orange light, red light inspection to go, yes, this site is good. No, this site might need a bit of power upgrades, or this site, we don't want to move forward with this one. And then that can give you a really good idea over what sites you can start to do pilots. And then lower the cost of that initial upfront infrastructure.
So yeah, if a site is red, you may have to look at public infrastructure around there, or as you kind of go to your more advanced things, or look at ways where we can, offset the upgrade. So, solar and batteries. Yeah. I think network upgrades, we've discussed this.
Batteries help, yes. So batteries can certainly help, and that's why we're looking to introduce.
We're finalising an integration with a few of the major battery operators. We're very excited to roll that out. Cars go to work in the day and they're coming back at night often, and that's when you get the constraint. So the battery can use your solar and so on, charge up in the day and deploy at night. It's not always the best to use a battery to charge another battery. So a word of warning from the wise, you really got to make sure that the unit fundamentals stack up from a dollars and cents perspective before you do that. CaaS is very nice when you need to do that. Again, it smooths out that cost. I got a good question from Sam here. Sorry if I misunderstood this. I want to confirm there's an option to make a lump sum payment to own the charger. Yes. At all points of the CaaS model, you can choose to buy out the units. You can have us ask us a question and say, how much is the buyout fee? And at any point in the contract, we will tell you. So it's the same as your mobile phone. You can say to Telstra and Optus, I want to go, and they can offer you the buyout. You can also, if you don't want to buy out the unit, there's an option of what we call a breakout, where we take back the units and the breakout fee covers the installation. If you are only hardware only, the breakout fees are minimal to none.
Yep. So from Richard, you asked, how is the underground cabling and upstream connection managed in terms of ownership and maintenance? Good question. So that's why we have that bundled solution, which incorporates a part of that installation segment. So for example, your period or your term is 5 years. At the end of that 5 years, you've paid off your installation in monthly ongoing costs.
Correct. That's fully owned by you.
Yes.
Okay, and then you can then choose to continue on with us on the hardware level and software service and maintenance. At the end of the term, the hardware doesn't yet transfer to you. It's still owned by us because we are subsidizing it, but you can also choose to buy it out, or you continue on in the charging as a service model.
Oh, yeah. Can you or do you add solar PV where the electrical infrastructure capacity is limited, so our daytime capability for charging is higher?
Yes. The answer is yes. So we technically can do solar-based commercial load control.
Yep.
Word from the wise, careful. It might be a cloudy day and your fleet needs to move. So we don't I've only deployed it once because of that requirement. So what we often find is we can set the parameters on the software to work harder in the day and work more gently at night. And we often set up one unit, what I call an emergency or fast always charger. So if someone needs a fast charge, they plug in and they can always get a quick charge. What we're also seeing in a lot of deployments, once you get past 6 or 7 EVs, you need to maybe consider a DC charger. And that DC charger can be we call that a master system if you've got a load managed system. So the DC becomes your full load system, and then your AC chargers become essentially slave systems to that, and they kind of operate only when the DC is not working if you're capacity constrained. Yeah.
Great. And then Mitch, you sent a question through the Q&A 20 minutes ago. So we're just getting to this now. So how do we approach sites that require switchboard upgrades? Look, firstly, we try to provide a solution that doesn't require having to upgrade switchboards. If we do, then we'll look for the cost to do so. If you have other sites nearby, we'll also look to see and inspect those sites to see if the installation is going to be more cost effective there.
We'll provide you a quote. Like if we need to do a switchboard, you'll get a quote. If it costs money to do an Ausgrid application, we'll give you a ballpark. So you go to, the CFO or the powers that be with the ballpark figure. That way you've got at least a ballpark idea of what's going to cost. And then when you pay Ausgrid a $500 application fee or so, it's at least comes with a bit of sense of what you're looking to pay. Yeah, that way you can at least run some unit economics early.
Yep.
And then when you get the full quote, you can run the final set of unit economics then.
Great. So overall, how competitive do you believe CaaS is in terms of cost to the owner? There must be a cost of having CaaS.
I think at the 4 to 5 year mark, they sort of balance the CaaS and the ownership model. And that's like anything, you can own a car or you can lease a car or you can have a novated lease. What we find is, unlike traditional vehicles, you don't really have a lot of resale value in hardware, right? Once it goes, you sort of got to replace it. So CaaS can be that really nice kind of entry into EV charging. And I find that really long term, it's much of a muchness. You should be service and maintaining these chargers. You need someone who you can call at all hours of the day. And what happens is, as people leave, as people transition out of the business, people forget how these chargers are operated or maintained or worked. I know our building, we don't know anything about how the aircon works. And whenever there's an issue, we just get this bill that's beyond comprehension. So it would have been nice to have our aircon on a similar status. So CaaS kind of really gets it so that it works long term without as many issues as you require. You always run into issues 4 or 5 years in as warranties expire. It is it's unfortunate nature of technology. Yeah.
All right.
There's
Great.
a lot of questions. You
It's a
guys,
lot of questions.
yeah. I think I can answer some more or.
Look, if what I'll do is you'll have my email, but I'll just put it again into the chat. So if you have any other questions, feel free to just send me through an email, and then we can attend to that afterwards. But look, I hope you got a better understanding around what charging as a service is. We are providing this for certain customers right now. We've got the solution down pat, and we really want to make it simple for you to make a decision on, do you own it outright, or do you CaaS this for long term?
Yeah. A good question, how the charge is recycled at end of life. We really like our metallic units because they recycle far better than the plastic units. So we've got a partnership, what's the
Zolo.
With Zolo.
Yep.
So when we grab the unit, if we cannot refurbish the unit, we will then give it to Zolo. They'll take out the PCBs and take out a lot of the rare earth metals and so forth. The metal's pretty simple. That will just be melted down and placed into a new unit. Yep. or of some sorts. And then any non-recyclable components, unfortunately, go to landfill. And about 6% of our commercial unit and of our commercial grade systems have non-recyclable components.
But the great thing with our brand is that they're completely modular. So even though we say, they either have a 2-year warranty or, with CaaS, it's 5 years if you'd like. They have an 8 to 10-year life expectancy because we can essentially treat the chargers like Lego. If a part fails, we can replace that part, and we don't have to replace the entire unit. And then we recycle that part if it's an e-waste byproduct. And so that really helps ensure longevity with the charging unit. And we're a sustainable company. We want to be providing infrastructure that stays long-term at your sites. All right.
That's it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining.
No, Rob, absolutely not. The amount of electricity that goes through does not influence the monthly cost. Yeah. I do recommend public charging for local governments. Don't make it free. It encourages the wrong kind of behavior, and it does shorten the lifespan of the charger if it's getting used 10 times more than it would be.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful.
Right. Very, very thankful for you all joining. I hope you learned something. If you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out. But this is an exciting model that we're taking to market, and we think will be very popular. Thank you all again. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.